Good morning. Well, it's Sunday morning and right around 7 a.m. and I'm just getting ready to go on a little ride with a couple of new guys that I've met off the web who are supposed to be meeting me in Laval, and I'm off to see Olivier, and he might be bringing a buddy, and we're gonna head over to the Forêt. I haven't been there so far this season, so we thought it might be fun to go check it out. And Chris is busy renovating. Joe had a golf tournament yesterday, so I'm sure he's in no shape to go riding. And Henrik, of course, is in the midst of major renovations, as is Chris. So I'll be heading off on my own this morning to meet some new folks, and we'll see how it goes. So the old 800 is ready to go. Done a few little changes in my setup. I got rid of my my kind of Pelican case trunk, and I've just been using a rafting bag. It's got my tools and air pump and a few odds and ends. Got my kind of camelback setup here with a few Cliff Bars just for snacks in case, and my little Wolfman tank bag, just to carry a few odds and ends. Got my wallet and my phone here in this little dry bag. A couple of spare batteries for the GoPros. Got my little mini Pelican case for the handheld Sony, just in case we got to do a little water crossing or it starts getting wet. I'll put it in there. Normally I keep it in this little pouch here, which I can keep with me. And other than that, it's getting a little cool, but still, I'll just be wearing my my motocross boots. Gonna wear my 661 little body armor setup. My BMW pants, which are a little torn up after my crash on the pavement a couple of weeks ago. And my BMW jacket. My jacket fits over top of the body armor as long as I've taken all of the pads out of this, and it actually fits over my 661 pressure suit. It's going to be a little nippy this morning, about 9 degrees. Not really cold enough for me to put the hippo hands on or do any of that. So anyways, I'm going to get suited up and head out and meet up with the boys in the parking lot over by Highway 15 and the 440.
So I met up with Olivier and Arnaud, and the first thing I noticed was that Arnaud's bike was a Super Motard with street tires. Could be interesting.
Oh. The Arnaud Special. This will be perfect. This will be perfect for what we want to do today.
Already making fun of my tires.
Are we going to Calabogie racetrack today, or what's happening?
He's gonna make it into a racetrack.
He's gonna make it.
Cheers.
Here we see Olivier. See, this is how Chris likes his tires.
Destroyed.
You can, as long as you can see the shape of the knob, he's quite happy. So.
We set off, and I was bringing up the rear. I figured I was the only one with cameras, so it'd be nice to get some shots. And even though I hadn't known these two guys very long, it was pretty evident to me that they seemed like good sports. Olivier had bought the F800 relatively recently and didn't have too much experience. And Arnaud had just picked up the 400 Super Motard, and they also had another friend who'd bought a 400 Super Motard. We crossed the bridge over the Waro River, and there's a little corner store here that we frequently stop at. And then we set off in search of some dirt. It wasn't long before the pavement gave away to a dirt road. And I've been on this road a few times, and it can be a little bit tricky because in the spots where it's in great condition, it's almost like driving on asphalt, and in other spots it can be quite soft. And the first little fun zone pops up on your right is an old abandoned gravel pit. We all missed the turn, but luckily there was multiple entrances. And I got to admit, at this point, I was feeling a little bit nervous. There is something a little disconcerting about going riding with guys you don't really know. I think part of it is just the uncertainty of meeting new people. Part of it is also just because you know that they're going to be judging you and your riding skills, and since my skills are far from being the best, I always feel a little bit nervous about how I'm going to be perceived when I'm riding off-road. Now, we had been to this area a couple of times before, and the one thing I did remember was that out the back through those trees was a trail that led to quite a network of trails. In looking at the footage now, this is quite a bit after this event took place. Maybe the gravel pit isn't quite as abandoned as I assumed, because some of that gravel looks pretty fresh. You could see some guys had been in here in a Jeep or a truck. Oh, and then it was time for the first spill of the day. Now, normally I would have just stood there and waited for some of the boys to come over and help me pick up the bike. But, hey, these were new guys, and I was trying to put on a good show, so I decided that I'd give them the thumbs up and hoist up the 800 all by myself. Luckily, the GoPro on the crash bars was there to take the brunt of the hit and save the bike from any scratches. Then I stood back to watch Olivier go up the little hill, and he got some pretty decent air on the 800. So even though he didn't have a lot of experience, I was definitely getting the impression that this guy was there he goes again, was definitely not shy about riding his 800 hard. Here we see Olivier again getting a little sideways. Then it was Arnaud's turn on the Super Motard. He also didn't seem too shy about throwing that bike around.
This place is awesome.
Hard work.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, I'm having a blast here. Gun. Woo!
All right.
Good. Woo. How are the knobbies?
It's horrible in sun, but still works out.
Whatever reservations I might have had were quickly wiped away. These guys both seemed like good eggs, and they were definitely up for a good time. I was also starting to see that, incredibly, how well that Super Motard would do with these tires, with those street tires on it. And I guess that's a testament to what a small, light bike can do. I know for a lot of people, finding other people to ride with can be a big challenge, because it's not just a matter of finding people that are geographically close to you. It's also a matter of finding people that want to do the same kind of riding as you do, hopefully are of a similar skill set and temperament. And you also have to have the same amount of availability, because there's lots of guys I've met who want to go riding, but their idea of a ride is leaving Friday night and coming back Sunday night. And if you've got a family and small kids, that's just not possible. So, it can be quite challenging to find a crew of guys who are all on the same page in terms of what they want to do with their riding. We eventually found the trail network that would link up behind the sand pit. And everything was going quite smoothly. It wasn't going perfectly for Arnaud on our first big right-hander coming up. You can see him in the distance. He kind of almost loses it here. Didn't quite make the turn, but managed to avoid going down into that little ditch. Watching this video, and this is a couple of years after the actual event, just really makes me want to go back to this place, because as I'm watching this, I'm just seeing all of these trails shooting off in every direction that we've never explored. So if nothing else, this video is definitely going to encourage us to go back there and do this trail again as one of our first rides. There was a lot of pretty sketchy little bridges here. It's always nice if you're not the first guy, then you figure the bridge is strong enough to support the weight of a bike and a rider. And you'll notice the GoPro is getting a little foggy here. This is the problem with the cool weather. If you keep the GoPro sealed up, it gets warm in there, and the cold air hitting the glass lens causes condensation inside the body. I had vague memories of being down here, and I knew this was going to be a dead end.
Yeah, last time I was here there was no bridge there. Oh yeah? It was about a year ago. But I think, I remember this dead end. I'm not sure if that's a dead end either, but you saw how many trails are back there, like, lots. You've been hitting some big bumps, man. I saw your rear tire like this high off the ground.
I prefer going over them than trying to go around and
slipping. Because a couple of times I see, and I see, whoa, like this much air under the back tire. I'm like, holy. And the front tire too, you had a good one at one point. It was like, and that's what I figured. I said, I don't think he wants to steer. There's no. Well, I saw that first right-hand corner where you went right off the side. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. We got it, hopefully.
One of the things I noticed following Arnaud was that he was just going straight over every obstacle in his path. And I think it was just a matter of him not actually being able to turn. So normally when you're riding down the trail, without even really thinking about it, you kind of pick and choose your line, you avoid the deepest ruts and the sharpest rocks, and in his case, he just didn't have enough traction to do that. So he was just getting up on the pegs and riding over everything in his way. And I think the combination of those big fat tires and the light weight of the bike means he wasn't actually bending anything. Here you can see this is the camera mounted down on the crash bar, which for some strange reason wasn't fogging up, even though it was in the same housing. Here I noticed that my friend Olivier, who was riding pretty much the same bike, but he had the stock springs, was keeping up quite a rapid pace through these rocky sections. And I thought to myself, what does he know that I don't? Because he seems to be really zipping through these sections.
Break time!
In the back of my mind, I thought, maybe we should take a quick check of Olivier's front rim before we set off again.
All right, Oliver, what's the problem?
The problem is not much thread on the tires left. I'm trying to imitate Arnaud because his style is so.
According to Chris, this is 90% good.
And 10% awesome.
And according to Arnaud, this is his dream tire.
brand new.
I'm surprised you haven't bent the rim.
It's all about style.
Style.
Style points.
Technique.
Technique.
And beginner's luck.
Well, actually, on this stuff, you don't need a lot of tread.
Oh, it's not that bad.
No.
It's not too loose, so you can actually stay in a straight line for once.
Yeah. 3 hits.
3 hits.
Nice. Oh. Nice. That's a good one. Good. Not so good. And eh. And how about the other side? No, you for some reason you like this side. You must be angry at the other side.
We had a quick chat about
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
how to hammer out the dents once Olivier got home. He didn't seem all that worried about it. I think he bought this bike to ride it. He didn't buy it just to shine it. We set off again, and this time Olivier's pace was a little more restrained. I also wasn't sure, and I should have checked, I guess, how much air pressure he had in that front tire. And this continued as a relatively well-groomed ATV trail.
I think, as far as I know, that means that, not the trail. Because you see that all over the place. Guys always put signs that say private property, but it's not across the road, so we always go.
So we just gotta make sure Arnaud doesn't go for a swim and we'll be set.
Yep.
Now normally, when someone's got private property out in this area, there would be a barrier across or something, or the sign is on either side of the road. A lot of the times you'll be riding along and you'll see these private property signs off to the side, and it usually just means the land on the side of the trail is private.
Is that fogging up? No? Okay. I can tell you one thing, don't go straight. Don't go straight. That trail there, you want to spend an hour in there and go about 40 feet, it's perfect. So you might as well follow the ATV signs, see where they take us.
A lot of the municipalities in this area allow ATVs to drive on the shoulder of the road to connect up their trail network. So when you pop out of an ATV trail onto a paved road, usually you can just follow that road until you see another sign indicating you've reconnected with the ATV network. And in this case, it was a Hydroline, one of our favorites. The province of Quebec has a lot of hydroelectric power, which means there's a lot of hydro lines, and the area underneath the hydro lines is always kept clear of major tree growth. And since it can be one of the few open areas through the forest, the snowmobilers and the ATVers and the dual sporters quite frequently forge trails through these areas. And this was actually a really nice trail. There'd been quite a bit of rain recently, so it was moist. Then there was a bit of a swampy area, so the trail dumped us back out onto a road again.
Did I miss the trail? I don't think so. Nope, not yet.
So once again, we stuck to the paved road and had our eyes peeled for another sign indicating where the ATV network would pick up again. It wasn't very long until we spied another entrance back onto the trail network. And this is very typical of the ATV trails we find not too far from Montreal. At the first rest stop, I'd noticed Olivier was looking a little tired, and even though he was definitely quite a bit younger than I am, and is certainly in much better physical shape, one of the things you'll find with people who are just starting out is they can tend to expend a lot more energy because they're muscling the bike around a little bit more. I can kind of run in a very low energy state, which is good because I don't have a lot of cardiovascular fitness. And something to keep an eye on when you're riding with newer guys is their fatigue level. The trail continued, and eventually the rocky section petered out, and we got more into this really slippery forest section. This is actually a relatively steep little hill, and that's why I didn't stop right there, because I knew if I stopped I was going to get stuck. Arnaud also managed to make it up on the slicks. Now, I mentioned before Olivier was looking a little tired, and there's nothing that'll suck the energy out of you than picking up a 500-pound bike a few times.
Here, let me just pull the front wheel over.
Sometimes you're better off just manhandling the bike around into a better position than trying to work from a bad angle or a bad spot. And you can see how greasy that was.
That's too much like exercise. I think we better get the out of here. Let me follow you for a bit. Get some footage.
So I fell in behind Arnaud to get some footage of him. It was kind of interesting. It's hard to see from the GoPro because the angle is so wide. But yeah, he was doing a lot of sliding around, and quite often there were obstacles I could see he was just driving right over them because he didn't want to try and swerve with no traction on his front tire. It was also pretty obvious that Arnaud is a good rider because I think he was having quite a few moments where the bike was getting sideways and he wasn't going down. I'm sure he liked this nice dry rocky section. One thing that was kind of jamming me up was he was going quite a bit slower than I was going, and I was going slow enough that I almost felt a little bit unstable. But I also wanted to be close enough to try and get some footage. Since riding with Arnaud, I've actually come across quite a few guys on the internet who are running DRZ400 super motards and are putting knobby tires on them. And the nice thing about the 400 SM is it has a very low seat height, and the bike seems to perform pretty well once you get some real tires on it, from what I've seen. Here we have a nice rocky uphill. There's nothing nicer than when you want to stop than finding one of these nice big flat rocks.
It's good. I think everyone's getting tired. And we should be out at the road in under 2 kilometers.
And at this point I decided I'd take the lead for a while, since I was at least pretending I knew where we were going. For every rocky uphill, there's usually a rocky downhill. Hadn't seen my riding buddies for a while, so I decided to pull over and wait for them.
Bend shift lever. It's either first or neutral. And not such a big fan of neutral, so that really doesn't give me a lot of choices.
Yes, well, let's just try to get it into first and get out of here. And then get to somewhere a little more cozy and we can take a gander at it.
I don't know what
It's the sticker.
it's got to be the sticker.
The sticker is first. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But at least it goes into first.
All right.
Alright.
So we'll follow you out in case you have an issue. It should only be a kilometer.
Famous last words.
Kilometer of what? We don't know. The key was too much tread. See? Arnaud's not having any trouble. Shifter's fine.
Pristine.
Spark busters are all clean. You got the highway dirt bikes one, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, those are so nice.
They're pretty.
Where do you park your bike? Is it parked outside?
On the street, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll need your address. And an Allen key. That's not good. What? Uh-oh.
We didn't get very far before Olivier pulled over. The bike wasn't shifting, so we decided to put some muscle on that shifter and bend it back into shape. It's always a bit nerve-wracking to be bending one of these shifters on the side of the trail. You don't want to snap it off, in which case Your last resort is to clamp on a set of vice grips. It's also not a bad idea to splurge and buy a shift lever with a folding tip. There's actually one for a model of Honda that only costs about $20 that fits the F800. Once again, I was back behind Arnaud, watching him bounce over every obstacle in sight. Watching this footage, I just can't believe I haven't been back to this trail network for the last couple of years. And up ahead,
Nice!
Olivier was down again. And this is what can happen when people start getting tired. You're tired, you fall down, you pick up the bike, you get more tired, you fall again, and you kind of get into a vicious circle.
Nicely done, sir. How are you feeling? You okay?
Not quite sure how we managed to get the bike up there.
Alright. You know what, at this point, let's just take her down and turn around. I'm falling left and right. Help me get down. Oh, it's easier to get on from the high side.
I was on the uphill side of the bike, so it made a little more sense for me to jump on and get it down the hill than to have Olivier try to crawl around in the muck. On a hill that's slippery like that, you are better off, if you don't make it up, just going back down and trying to get a little momentum, as opposed to trying to have your buddies basically push you from a dead start. And then Olivier gave it another shot, and down he went again.
You're just trying to make good video, aren't you? Alright.
You could see there was a rut, and he tried to kind of climb out of the rut. And on these bikes, a lot of the time you have to just resign yourself to staying in the rut.
Back her down a bit. Yeah. Where you would go all the way down. Yeah.
If you actually look at that rut with the rocks and stuff in it, that's probably the spot with the best traction on this hill.
Keep going. Just let it fall in the rut. Just stay in them. Can't climb out of them with this thing. Just go right up this center rut.
And Olivier was off on his third attempt. And you can see it was slippery.
Where you would go way back.
And Olivier has an advantage here in that he's a big, tall, strong guy, which makes muscling an 800 around a little easier than it is for some other folks.
Okay. Good. All right.
And away he went. And look, as soon as he got in that groove, he made it up no problem.
It's good video. He's just trying to make the video interesting. Okay, I think that's the exit. 1 kilometer.
With the GPS showing us an enticing looking main road only a few hundred meters ahead, we set off. And sure enough, at least this time the GPS didn't lie, and we were dumped out into civilization. Olivier had one more little slip there where he slid off the side of the trail. And then we were off in search of a terrace where we could sit down and have a cold beer and tell lies. Now I've never actually went for another ride with Olivier and Arnaud. They both have much more free time than I have, so they seem to be going on bigger rides. And I can also tell you that both of these guys are now doing major hardcore rides. Olivier pretty much destroyed his 800, bought a much smaller bike, and he's always doing whatever hardcore rally seems to be available. I keep in contact with these guys through Facebook and YouTube, and I can tell you that they've all certainly matured into better riders than I'll probably ever be. After a little refreshment, we were going to head back to the city, and Arnaud was nice enough to let me try out the Super Motard, and here you see him on my 800. I'd always wanted to try one of these DRZ motors. I mean, I've driven XRs and DRs and KLRs, owned a couple of KLRs, but I've never ridden a DRZ. And I gotta say, I was really impressed by this bike. I actually found it incredibly smooth. Of course, it had street tires, but just the motor. Driving on this 90 km/h 2-lane, the bike had no problem keeping up, and I actually liked it a lot more than the rides I've had on DR650s and XR650s. So don't count the DRZ out just because it's a 400. Take one for a spin. You might be very surprised at how highway worthy the bike is.
That's super fun.
Very different.
I'm amazed how, like, at 100 kilometers an hour, it's not even working on that. You're just like, had it up to like 120, and it was like no problem whatsoever.
A man in his DR said.
No spills today.
True.
Hey, that's
Very
true. I only had a couple, so I'm feeling pretty good. And luckily you were there today to make for some entertaining video. You did more than your share.
Thank you. I have to learn how to ride in ruts, definitely. Ruts and I go way back, but
Stay in the rut.
Be sure to hit like if you liked the video, and why not hit the subscribe button as well if you want to know what we're up to here on YouTube. Down below in the description, you'll see a link to our Facebook page, and there's quite a bit of fun stuff happening over there with guys from all over the world who like the kind of riding we do. If you have any questions about anything bike, GPS, camera, anything related to what we do here at the Awesome Players, feel free to drop us a line at either info@apormc.com, through Facebook, or drop us a message on YouTube. All in all, it was a great day. Had fun with my two new friends, and I guess that brings another Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club adventure to an end. Thanks for watching.